So, with no further ado, Janice.
Hi, thanks to all of you for being here this morning. Let me just back up a little bit and give you a little background here. I am a former counsel to the September 11 Commission. Before that, I was in the Senate. I was on the Senate Judiciary Committee as in the Terrorism Subcommittee. So I was doing terrorism and immigration issues prior to 9/11. What you will find over there on the table is a hard copy of the Terrorist Travel Monograph. That is the official government document that me and my colleagues produced on the commission, book form. It's a nice little reference if you'd like it. In the packet are a number of materials. One is my to-do list for the border going forward, and also a watch listing report that I did a couple weeks ago where we are on watch listing since 9/11. Also Real ID, where we are on Real ID, that's from January. I want to actually do something a little unusual. I want to start with Claire's question. I want to answer it. And that is on visa overstays. I have a large section in the report on where I think that exit should be and what it should be doing to really, really hone in on security and support aviation security as well as immigration. But I wanted to mention that this is kind of a big announcement because the Secretary of Homeland Security, Secretary Napolitano, a year and a half ago said before the Senate that she considered exit of dubious value to American security. I got a call the other night saying that the Secretary is going to do exit. It's going to be not what we want. It's not going to be the mandates that are on the books. It's going to be purely biographic. It's going to be done at departure once people are already on planes, but it will provide real-time, by name, by passport, feedback to the immigration services in real time who is exiting the country. That will give us visa overstay data for visa waiver, as well as give our immigration services better data. It's not a great solution, it's not everything, but it's certainly better than, of dubious value that we got a year and a half ago. And with that, I'm probably going to be a little more negative for the rest of my discussion, although I'm going to try not to be. Okay, so where are we? I'm going to go macro here, pull back, and then go forward. Where are we now since 9/11 on our borders? We can't really deny that we're a whole lot more secure than we were 10 years ago. The reason I think being behind that is that borders are now understood to be pivotal to keeping terrorists out. And our country is safer for that recognition. We did not have that recognition pre-9/11. We have a lot of laws in place based on the 9/11 Commission recommendations that we put out, largely due to individuals like Congressman Sensenbrenner and some key senators as well, like Lieberman and Collins. And they include a lot of policies and programs to curtail terrorist travel. We have about 28 different programs that go after that one idea that we stated in the 9/11 Commission recommendations, that is, that we need to, quote unquote, assure that people are who they say they are and do not have derogatory information associated with them. And those include WITI requiring a passport for all persons entering the United States. Believe it or not, before 9/11 we did not have that. We have US Visit, which is probably one of our most important biometric hubs for data. Now we take fingerprints and photos on entry. We have things like the Human Smuggling and Trafficking Center that are analyzing terrorist travel trends. We have Real ID. We have some birth record advancements. We have the National Counterterrorism Center that is hubbing the watch list. We have passenger data from foreign counterparts we didn't have before. We have trusted traveler programs. We have secure flight, finally with the government, the airlines out of the business of dealing with the watch list. And in many areas we have improved visa processing, although I got an unfortunate email late last night telling me, and I have to tell you all this, that the State Department has approached DHS. As many of you in this room know, Department of Homeland Security actually owns the visa issuance authority. So the State Department now has to go to them. The State Department has now asked them to go basically back to September 10th standards, where large swaths of visa categories are not going to have an interview with them anymore. We didn't even have to tell the State Department after 9/11 to start doing interviews in the 9/11 Commission recommendations. It was so obvious. Now it looks like they want to go back to those pre-9/11 standards. Not good. We are better off. We have stopped terrorists from coming into this country with a lot of the programs that we have in place and a lot of the technologies. However, We still have to deal with thousands of potential terrorists who are already here before 9/11, who stayed, and those who are still getting here because we don't have the intelligence to stop them. State sponsors of terror, such as Iran, that support both Hezbollah and Al-Qaeda, cause special concern as Al-Qaeda continues to splinter and pick up support in the Saudi Peninsula, Africa, and Southeast Asia, and Hezbollah recruits and supports drug cartels south of our border. As we know from the terror threat from this past weekend, we really can't afford, as Penny said, complacency. Nor can we assume that if a person is from a certain region in the world, it's safe to have them here. Terrorists, as we know, are self-radicalizing and are recruited from anywhere in the world today. To keep our nation safe from foreign-born terrorists, equal standards must apply equally to all U.S.-bound travelers, regardless of origin. Equal standards must also apply to those who are seeking to work here and assimilate by acquiring driver's licenses and IDs. Acquiring a standard of equal standards that apply to everyone across the board, for me, has to be our future paradigm in border security. We also have to make sure that our laws are equally respected. Saying our borders are secure, or now the rubric is secure enough, does not make it so, nor does mediocre effort is that acceptable. So I have a series of recommendations that I think are the congressional to-do list. And I'm going to start with the southwest border. First, a couple days ago, on 9/10, the new Assistant Commissioner for CBP, Mark Borkowski, put out the new policy on control of the border. It is now reasonable control of the border, which sounds a lot like the politically incorrect version that they were tossing around internally that I blogged about a couple months ago, what was quote-unquote acceptable levels of illegal immigration. I think instead we need to have an apprehension policy based on the rule of law, the goal to be the operational, not reasonable control of the border, and that needs to be a pretty high priority. There's definitions from 2005 that define operational control, and I think we need to go back to that. Second, we need to revise our borderland laws. One important reason that Arizona has such a horrible illegal entry problem is that most of the land on the border is federally owned. I know it sounds weird, but that's the case. And because it's federally owned and because there are wilderness laws in place there, the Border Patrol has limited access because the antiquated wilderness laws don't allow them the access they need. Congress needs to change those laws to enable all federal law enforcement to have equal access to federal lands, to discourage illegal use, and remove the punitive damages that the Border Patrol has in place because of an MOU with the Department of Interior. There's a lot on this. I have a hidden cameras on the Arizona Border series. It's 3 parts. It's up on YouTube. It's had, I don't know, like 800,000 views or something between them. Take a look at those if you don't believe me about the federal lands issue. The next one is we need to properly engage the National Guard. We need to go back to and look at Operation Jumpstart, which was in the Yuma sector between 2006-2008. Took a 50-to-1 ratio of illegals to Border Patrol and turned that around where we had huge incursions. Lots of people were losing their lives. It was being completely run over by smugglers by 2006. By 2008, it was under operational control. Why? Because the National Guard was there in force. They were helping doing rescues, they were helping doing renditions, and they built a big darn fence, and it really, really helped. We need to go back to that idea. We need to revisit and recognize the value of a common operating picture, which is something that got completely maligned by the administration. A lot of bad information was put out that frankly was not true in a lot of ways. We need to go back to that idea. We need the Border Patrol to have the ability to see an entire area and be more efficient in the way they operate, be more safe in the way they operate. Because of the common operating picture that now exists in Tucson 1 and Ajo 1, this is the Secure Border Initiative. We have seen rescues and renditions that would not have happened because those areas are wilderness areas that are not patrolled right now. We're not patrolled. We need to go back to that idea where you have gaps geographically. You can employ that tactical the tactical technologies that the administration has talked about, but you need that common operating picture if you want to grow efficiencies and safety into the Border Patrol operation. Overseas, just a couple of issues. One I testified about back in May before House Judiciary was the Diversity Visa Program. This program is 100%, 99.9% fraud. It provides 50,000 visas a year to countries that include Iran, Yemen, Somalia, and other harbors of terror. The Diversity Visa Program has no application standards. It's burdened with high costs from fraud. It's a huge national security vulnerability. Twice Congress has passed laws to eliminate it, and twice it has gotten back in conference. Representative Goodlatte has a bill right now to eliminate it. It needs to happen. We need to, the watch listing I already discussed. Let me just mention Real ID and birth certificate issues quickly. Real ID, we should not be delaying compliance. One thing that Congress can do is make sure that they reauthorize the Real ID funding. It is not authorized right now. And they need to fight back on the Coburn-DeMint Senate amendment to kill the funding. The other one is birth certificate standards. Congress, this is a 9/11 Commission recommendation to standardize birth record throughout the nation. It's been waiting on the books for 5 years. The regulations are written. They haven't been published. It's had no congressional oversight. And it will only take, we have 34 states that have digitized their records. The DMVs have not hooked up to them, even though the Social Security Administration and Medicare around the country is using the digitized vital records. We need $100 million to do it. My plan is to have E-Verify make that happen. I have it all in my report. So anyway, that is really where we need to go. We see a slipping and sliding here right now where we have the administration carving out terrorist travel and criminals and honing in on them and letting the entire rest of the illegal population go. That is not where we're going to get security in this country. It's a slip slide away from everything that the 9/11 Commission talked about, and it's a forgetting of those findings of facts, and it's disappointing. But we can move forward. We've come a long way. That's it. Thanks.